Negotiation is something that we can all learn. It's not difficult. There's actually a science behind it. There's a reason why Harvard Business School has an entire branch devoted just to negotiation, because we can all learn it, and it can be fun when we do. So stay tuned, and I'm going to tell you some of my top tips to help you be a better negotiator starting tomorrow. Hi, my name is Shawn Sommerkamp, and this is Motivationeer Christian Coaching. All right, I guess it's fitting that I'm wearing a shirt that says, "This is not rocket surgery," because negotiation is not. It can be really simple when we realize a few things about it, the first of which is the fact that negotiation is just a game. Even if the other people that we're negotiating with don't really realize it's a game, it's still a game. If you're playing volleyball and you get a good spike over the net and you're celebrating and they're pouting, or they walk off the court, sad and angry, the game no longer ceases to be a game. It's still a game, even if they don't really know how to professionally play it. Same with negotiation. When we're aggressively starting off with our first offer, or we do an aggressive counter offer, or when we pause for a while, let there be silence and awkwardness, all of it's a game. Even if we make an aggressive first offer and they get really offended by it, their being offended is part of the game. We don't want to let it affect us personally. This again is the idea of detached involvement, which I talk about a lot on this channel. I'm not going to talk about it now. So when we enter into the arena to negotiate, it will help us have a better attitude about it when we remember there's nothing personal. No matter what they do, wherever the negotiation ends, it is part of a game. Now, to play the game, we want to know of a technique known as BATNA, B-A-T-N-A, B-A-T-N-A, best alternative to the negotiated agreement. What this basically means is, and I'll take buying a car as an example. When you're negotiating to buy a car, you have a car, you know it's worth a certain price range. The person selling the car wants to get as high of a price as they can. But they're not going to just stick at one number. There's going to be kind of a range that they're willing to accept. You want to get the lowest price you can, but you're not going to just make $1 amount offer. There's a range that you're willing to give. Well, at some point, the range for the buyer and the seller overlap, and it makes a band, an acceptable band. This is known as ZOPA, Z-O-P-A, the zone of potential agreement. What we want to do is try to get as close to our lowest end, and they're going to try to get as close as they can to their highest end, so that when you get to the zone of potential agreement, it's more in your favor. So you'll buy it at the low end of the zone. They'll try to sell it at the high end of the zone, okay? So in order to do that, I always recommend we start with the first offer. We call it an aggressive first offer. Some schools of negotiation, I think including Harvard Business School, says, no, let them start the negotiation. I'm sure in lots of ways that's great, but in the realm of career, it tends to be, in my opinion, better for us to start the negotiation off with an aggressive first offer. It's going to be 20 to 30% above, let's say let's talk about keep it with the car, where it's below where we want to end, so that when it goes back and forth a few times, we'll get closer to our low end of the zone. Okay, so we start really low. If you're buying a used car, let's say, maybe offensively low. Hopefully they're not going to get offended because they know how to play the game. But they go, whoa, that price is way too low. I need way up here. Now they're going to offer a number that's going to be 20 to 30% above where they want to end as well, because they too know that there's going to be back and forth. Okay, that is part of the game. So let's say, now I'm going to switch the arena back to a job interview. Let's say you're negotiating for a salary. You start with your aggressive first offer and you say, okay, hey, I want $50 an hour. They might say, I'll get back to you. That's in the range. I'll get back to you. They wait a day, they get back to you and they say, okay, we're willing to offer $40 an hour. Now that's very low from where you started. That's what they want. They want to get you as low as they can. We're not going to get offended by it, but we're going to look at that and realize, okay, them starting at 40 means that they're going to probably be willing to end about 42, 43, maybe 44. We know that because they have a range. They want to get as low as they can to their zone of potential agreement. We want to get as high as we can to our high end of the zone of potential agreement. So we start with an aggressive counter offer to their first counter offer. Our aggressive counter offer is going to be something like 49, let's say. They're going to go, whoa, you're not giving anything here. Man, don't you realize? Remember, that's part of the game. When we look at BATNA, the best alternative to the negotiated agreement, we can have negotiating leverage when we understand what their best alternative is to you. Now, this time of history where very few, there's a lot of job openings and very few people to fill the jobs, their best alternative is to leave the job unfilled, right? Because it's hard to find someone like you. There just aren't lots of you running around the marketplace right now. It's just the way it is. So you knowing that their best alternative is not great gives you leverage to make a strong, aggressive counter offer. Now, let's say we're in a time, or let's say you're just coming out of college and 3,000 of you have just been spit out by 10 colleges across the US. Yeah, you're probably not going to have as much negotiating leverage. So you're not going to do as high of an aggressive counter offer. Instead of 49, you're going to say, I'd be willing to do it for 45. Okay? That's you understanding the BATNA, their best alternative to the negotiated agreement. Now, in our society, in our marketplace right now, when they think about your best alternative to the negotiated agreement, they're going to realize you have tons of alternatives because the marketplace has lots of unfilled job openings looking for people like you. So they're not going to probably start as low as 40, to be honest. They're going to probably start closer to 42, 43, which means they're going to be willing to land where? 45, 46, maybe even $47 an hour, okay? So when we have in our mind the best alternative to the negotiated agreement, we're doing our research into knowing what their alternatives are. I think, as I've said in a few of my previous videos, you do want to go to Salary.com and look at what their salary survey says. They do a lot of research on this. They collate lots of data. Do that research so that we really have a strong understanding of the best alternative and then go into it knowing that it's a game. Now, let's say they start really high with their first counteroffer, because remember, you said 50. They start high with their first counteroffer and say 45. That's a good sign. We don't want to be really aggressive because we know from our Salary.com search that 50 is the very high end of where you're going to get paid. So what we do, knowing that they've started out really high as a counteroffer, we say something like, make it 48 and I'll sign right now. We create some urgency. When we say those words, we're communicating a couple of things. First of all, I know how to negotiate. And second, hey, I realize I'm playing a game with you. This is kind of fun. We're keeping it light. Make it 48, I'll sign right now. They will probably do that. If we go, no, I've done my research, 49, and that's as low as I'm going, we're going to lose them, even if they don't have lots of other alternatives. Why? Because they may not be willing to take a risk of someone with your kind of attitude, to be honest, okay? So if they come at a very low first counter offer, we do an aggressive counter offer so we can pull them way up. If they start high with their counter offer, we show a sense of urgency, excitement, playfulness, and say, make it 48, I'll sign right now, okay? So this is it. Those are my kind of big tips. I went through it fast. Hopefully you'll watch this video a few times. This does take practice. What I've demonstrated is they tend to go in, really two ranges. Start really low with their aggressive counter offer, or they come in kind of high with their counter offer. Both of those are something that we can handle because we know how to negotiate. And most importantly, we know it's a game. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for 2 new videos each week. Tell me in the comments below about your career situation, and I'll make a video for you with a shout out. You can also become a member at Motivationeer.com. Your career is not just a way to make a living, it's a way to transform the world.